Hi, I'm Sarah, and today we're going to be doing an acrylic painting. Okay, so I'm going to really quickly go over the supplies, and I'll talk about what you can do as alternatives if you need to for any of the supplies. So first we've got our paint colors. I've got a red, yellow, and a blue. For red, I'm using naphthol crimson, but you could use just a basic red if that's what you have. Yellow, cadmium yellow medium. For blue, I've got a thalo cyanine blue, or also called thalo blue. Again, you can use basic red, yellow, blue for those. Then you need a brown and a white. For mine, I use burnt umber and titanium white. So those are the 5 colors you need. Your 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And then your brown, which it helps you darken colors, and white, which helps you lighten colors. And that's it. So those are the colors. I've got my canvas, which I'm using a 9x12 canvas. I'm using canvas board, so you can see it's thin. However, you can also use just a regular canvas is fine. I like canvas board because it's pretty inexpensive to buy like a 5-pack of these. For brushes, I've got 2 brushes. This is a round brush, and I'm using a size 6, but you can also use a 4 or an 8. This is a 3/4 wash brush, but it's also called a filbert because it's a flat brush that has this rounded head, and that is called a filbert. So you can use either a size 10 or 12 filbert if you don't have the 3/4 wash brush. So those are the types of brushes. I have a pen for signing later. This is a paint pen, Craftsmart. I have a palette for mixing the paints and a palette knife. And then a paper towel, which you'll need, as well as water to rinse things off with. So that is all the supplies. Today we are doing a mountain scene. I chose this image because it shows atmospheric perspective, which is what I discussed on my Tuesday class, which was the drawing class. So I try to stay with the theme. Tuesday was atmospheric perspective, and today we're still going to be learning that, but just using paint instead of drawing. All right. So hopefully everybody's hearing me okay. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So first things first, we're going to be using our large brush. By the way, want to mention that I'm doing mine on a table that's okay for me to paint on. If you are using just your regular kitchen table, it's really important that you put newsprint or newspaper or something down underneath, because acrylic paint can be permanent. It can also be permanent on your clothes, so I'm going to be putting on an apron so that I don't get my clothes messed up. It's very, very difficult to get out. In fact, nearly impossible. So I would say definitely wear something you don't care about, or put an apron on so that you don't mess up your clothes. Okay. So all right. So we're going to be starting with our wash brush or our filbert, and we are going to start doing our background. So we're going to do a blue and a white. So let's see. So I'm going to start with equal parts blue and white. Just a note, you can see right here, my Discord channel, that I have the reference photo for today's picture up on the Discord channel. So please go ahead and join the server. And this is a place where we put all of our art to share. So I always put the reference photo out there, but also it's where if you follow me in the lesson, you want to take a picture of your work at the end, you can upload it in the on the Discord channel, and we can critique it and go over it there. Also, if you have your own artwork that's not related necessarily to the stream, and it can be anything, it doesn't have to just be painting and drawing, but any artwork you want to take a photo of and upload it there and get my personal feedback, you can. I'm actually a fiber artist, which means I work with textiles, things like silk painting and weaving and things like that. So even though I do painting and I do drawing, I've also done ceramics, I've done photography, I've done printmaking. I do textiles, so I've done a lot of different art mediums, and I am more than happy to give any feedback. I've even done digital artwork. So let's go ahead and mix the blue and the white. I think I might have put a little bit too much white there, but we'll see. As long as we get a nice kind of a medium to light blue, we're good. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this off, mostly because if you let the paint dry on there, it's much harder to get off later. So it's better to just go ahead and wipe that off now. All right. We are going to wet our brush in our water, and the way I wet my brush when I first start out is I push it down on the bottom. You're going to see I push it down on the bottom and move it back and forth, almost like I'm painting the bottom of the cup. And what this does is it just kind of moves all the bristles around and allows the water to get in. You probably might have even seen some bubbles. Then I just tap it, and now you can actually wipe some of the water off on the rim if you want, but then your brush is basically, it's lubricated. So when I go to pull the paint onto it, you're just lightly touching it to the side. It mixes with the water on your brush, and I'm just flipping it back and forth, and it makes it a lot easier to go onto the canvas. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're just going to paint the entire thing, starting with the sky. I'm going to get a little bit more water each time I pick up more paint. Again, this just helps kind of lubricate the paint. Otherwise, what happens is you get something called dry brushing, which can be effective in different ways. It's not what we want right now. It's not the technique that we want to use. Right now, we would rather get more coverage in the sky and ground. And in order to do that, we need it to be pretty wet. We need the paint to be pretty flowing. For anyone who joined me at the beginning and I was having some sound problems because I apparently had my mic muted. So it was not you, it was 100% me. And thank you to one of my viewers who let me know. So I appreciate it if you stayed with me during that little very silent time. If you're a friend of mine, you know that silent times with me are kind of few and far between. So maybe if any of my friends are watching, they enjoyed that nice little break. Not saying that I talk a lot, but my friends do sure enjoy the silence when it happens. It's okay. Let me tell you, talking a lot has really helped with streaming. So if any of you out there are interested in doing your own streams, it can be very disconcerting to be talking to no one, because you're just sort of talking to yourself, even if people are saying stuff in chat. So, it did take a little bit of getting used to, but luckily, because I'm already kind of a chatty Cathy, then it was very helpful for being able to just generally talk. Also, I've always been, I've always had cats, and I talk to them like people. They're my people, my little people. And so, All right. So I haven't gone all the way down. I am going to. I wanted to make sure my sky got really nice and finished. Now in the middle, I'm going to be going in and adding white right here in the middle. And in fact, we don't actually have to go all the way down, I suppose. Let's go ahead and add some white in. So pure white. I'm just going to put white in its own well. And I'm going to wet my brush, but I am not going to wipe the paint off. I'm just going to, so you'll see that I did get a little bit of blue in there. That's okay because we're going to be mixing this. So see, I'm just painting right into the blue and that lightens it there. So what I'm doing, essentially, I'm mixing paint directly on the canvas rather than mixing it in the on the palette. And so if you just keep painting back and forth, so horizontal strokes, it will blend very nicely. This is how you get a nice gradient. Gradient is when something goes from light to dark value or vice versa, dark to light value, very gradually. That is called a gradient because there's grades of colors, just like your letter grades in school, A, B, C, D, they go in order. It's kind of the same thing with your gradients. It shows value. So I'm going to get a little bit more of the white right here at the bottom and mix even more in. This is going to be especially effective once we put the mountains on because it's going to look like the sky is lighter right around the mountain area. So I'm picking up even more. Okay. Get that nice and light there. And look at that. See how it even kind of looks misty, you know, where it's dark up at the top and light closer to the middle. I'm not going to worry about the bottom right now. It's going to be mostly white anyway. We'll just end right here is fine. However, I am going to add my mountains. All right. All right, so what we're going to do, go ahead and I'm going to rinse off my brush. When I rinse off the brush, I do the same thing I did at the beginning where I go back and forth, almost like I'm painting the bottom of the cup. And that just really moves those bristles around and gets all of the paint off. And then I wipe it. It should be pretty clean, but you're always going to have a little bit left over just because the water is a little bit of a color now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add just a touch, not much, but just a touch of red to our blue. But I'm not going to add it directly. What I'm going to do is put red on the side because what we're doing is we're trying to make this a cooler blue. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to show you guys something. So I've got a color wheel here. Let's see which side looks better. Okay, this is fine. So if you notice, this is a warm blue. This is a cool blue. Well, what's different? The cool blue is closer to purple, right? Whereas the warm blue is closer to like green or yellow. Yellow is the opposite of purple. So what we want is we want to make our blue a little bit more purple. Well, what makes blue purple? Red. So we're only mixing a tiny bit of red. We don't want much, but just a tiny bit. And that's going to actually cool down this blue a little bit. So I'm just getting just a tiny bit. See, I like barely picked any up. And I'm going to mix it directly in the blue. And this will just tone this down a little bit. Cool it down. You can always pick up more, which is why I put the red in the well next to it. And in fact, I think we are going to need a little bit more. Let's see. You know what? Actually, here's what I'm going to do. Because I think I want some darker. Oops. I just got water on my... All right. Apparently everyone that I normally follow is going live right at the moment that I am streaming, so that's fun. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some straight blue down in its own well, and then I'm going to mix a little bit of red into that. Because I do want a cooler blue, but I need darker too. So I need to cool down my light color and cool down my dark color. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of red, mix it in with my dark blue. That will purple that up a little bit. Okay. Trying to see if it's cool enough. I feel like I maybe need a little bit more red. It's hard to tell with such a dark color. What I do is I look like when I scrape it, you can kind of see a lighter version of the color, like where the white of the palette is. And I try to see what that looks like. There we go. This is better. And we're going for almost purple. Okay, so we've got that. I'm just going to mix this because these are essentially the same color. This has just had white added to it. But I am going to add a little bit more red to this lighter color. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit more. There we go. That's nice. It's going to look like a light purple or maybe even a grayish blue a little. And part of that's because we had already mixed the white in there, and so white grays things. Very good. Okay, this is nice. I'm going to wipe my palette knife. And then I'm going to take my filbert brush again, wet it because it's had time to dry. And I'm going to start with my darker color. So starting over on the left-hand side of the painting, make sure you guys can see that. Here, I'll just turn that there so you can. Starting on the left-hand side, probably, let's see, here's about the halfway mark. So I want to go just a little bit higher than halfway. I'm looking at the reference photo and I'm coming up. So we're starting dark first. Now, when we did atmospheric perspective on Tuesday with the drawing class, of course, we weren't dealing with color. But the way it works with color is that mountains or whatever is in the distance is going to seem bluer and grayer. And by making this kind of a purplish color, that technically is more bluer. And that's what... that's why we're doing this with like a slightly redded, like a purplish blue. Okay, so I'm going to do another mountain, just slightly smaller. And we may need to re-wet our brush so that it flows more smoothly. And pick up some color. Yep, that's much better. Okay. Another even shorter one. And one more little guy down here. And he's going to continue all the way to the other side of the page. Okay. I'm getting a little bit more water on my brush, and I'm just tapping it because it was starting to dry brush. Dry brush is where like it's catching all the little pieces and you can start to see the canvas through your brush strokes. And so adding just a little bit of water will help with that. Okay, now that I've got some dark blue in there, I'm going to come in with my lighter blue and just paint right over the top of it. And I'll leave some of the dark blue at the top and the sides. Okay. Then we're going to actually come pick up a little bit of our white and come in right up against the next mountain that we painted. So like to the right side of each of the little mountains that we did. And so for this last one, the littlest one, is just going to be kind of the whole right side of it, all the way going off the page. Okay. Okay, so I'm washing off my brush. I'm going to add just a touch more red. I'm just putting my brush straight in it and mixing it in. And I'm going to do some kind of scraggly mountains starting probably about right here. All I'm doing is outlining. And I'm not even completing it. See how I just made some areas where there's not any there's not even mountains there. And that's because we're going to come in with our white. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I think I want some right there. Okay, now we're going to come in with the white. And we're just going to paint right over the top of that. if you guys could hold on just a minute, I will be right back. I've got to go take care of something that just came up. Hold on just a minute. Hey everyone, sorry about that. I'm back. Just had to go take care of something and we are all good. So let's continue with our white. Now one thing to note is that if you do have to get up when you are painting, try not to be gone for too long. And the reason why is because this acrylic paint does dry pretty quickly actually. So it's important that you not leave it for too long, or you come back and you won't be able to work with it. And it's not just in your palette, but on your canvas too. Sometimes you want to work with it and do different effects. So I'm coming in here. All right. We don't really have to be too precise right in these areas because we will be coming in later and touching them up. But I just want to get some of the white laid down. Okay, I'm wetting my brush just a little bit so I can smooth this out. All right. Now, most of our work is going to be done with our smaller brush. So we can go ahead and clean off our large brush and get our smaller brush. Now we have to do the same thing. We have to get it wet. So just paint the bottom of your cup. All right. So now I'm going to take, let's see, probably, I'm going to pick up some white, but I'm debating where I want to put this. Maybe just come in right at the top of the mountains. We're going to actually layer in a little bit of detail. So all I'm doing is following what I'm going to be calling the face of the mountain. So I'm just kind of making a squiggly line coming down. And this is going to be our right facing slope. So we'll have right facing and left facing. Our left facing is going to be our shadow. And our right facing is the highlight. That's where the sun is coming. Our sun's coming from this way. Our light source. So this is going to create kind of a triangle. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw the triangle first, just to have the reference. And then we can fill it in. All right. Then I'm going to come in and just kind of feather the edge. Now what feathering does is feathering is where I just loosely run the brush across it and it just blends it with the rest of the mountain slope. May need to get a new napkin. My paper towel is... Let me get a new one. I like these paper towels where you can choose the size because it makes it easy so you're not running through a whole bunch of them at one time, because you can definitely go through a lot of towels. Okay, so I'm going to pick up some more white. I'm going to come and do the face on this mountain. I might have gotten a little bit too much water there. So this one is going to kind of curve back towards us. I want the face to be a little bit broader there of the left face. Shaped a little like South America. I like to, whenever I'm painting, this is a little bit too wet, so I just wanted to dry it off a little. When I'm painting, I try to find familiar shapes in whatever it is I'm painting. So if I'm looking at a reference photo and I say, that looks kind of like the shape of South America, then that helps me paint it better on my canvas, because I'm making it seem more like a shape in my head rather than just a snowy mountainside. Okay. So what we're going to do is just very lightly actually, you know what? I want to use our blue color. Let me see. I'm going to use our light blue here that we made, or well, the kind of grayish purplish blue, and that's what I'm going to use. Oops. Now look what I'm doing to the side of my hand. I have not been very careful about where I'm placing my hand. So that's something to think about when you are, especially if you're painting down and not on an easel where it's facing towards you. Something to consider is that you may set your hand down in it. So just be aware of that. Luckily, mine was mostly dry now, so it's not the end of the world, but that could have been devastating. That's why it's important to pay attention. I'm just getting a little bit of water on my brush because I've noticed it's starting to dry brush a little bit. I accidentally got a little bit of white on my brush, so what I'm doing is coming over and just kind of letting it blend a little bit. Okay. So you see I took care of the shape on the shadow shape on the left. Now I'm going to do the same for the left face of my next little mountain. And I'm making some decisions as we go. I'm realizing that these mountains here, I probably want them to be a little warmer. So we are going to warm those up. I'll mention this probably in the critique, but when I go forward doing this in the future, I'll probably just start off doing those in a warmer color rather than what we're going to do, which is to put a warmer color over it. That is my mistake. So now I am letting it dry brush. I'm letting it just very loosely. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of white to mix that in. But I'm just very loosely like letting it kind of hit the canvas rather than trying to be very precise and get all of everything covered. Okay, last area over here, the third mountain. I just wet my brush because I'm going to try to get some coverage on it first. We can maybe come in with some white on the other side here. And you might be saying, you know, Sarah, why in the world would we paint that dark on there just to paint over it? Well, that is a good question. The thing is that I can still see, and you too could do this, like, you know, if you're working on it at home. Oh, hey, Philip, thank you. Thanks for stopping by. You can still see little parts of the dark blue. And so what it does is it's laying a foundation, it's laying a base. And so yes, we're going over, painting over it, but because it's underneath, it's creating a layered effect. Philip, I was just mentioning earlier that apparently all of our friends are streaming at the same time. It makes it difficult. Because I saw Sass just went online, so. It's good though. Well, we're all streaming because there's a deficit because John's not streaming, so. We're all trying to make up for it. Okay, so next I'm going to pick up just a little bit of white and come in on the right side. So remember, our light source is coming from the right. All right. And then I'm going to take my white and let's see, hopefully I have some blue that's still wet. I do not. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of my light blue, mix it in, and bring my white in here. And like I did over here, I'm just going to be very casual about it. I'm not trying to be precise. Just come in here and just give an extra layer of information. I'm going to pick up just a little bit more white. Just an extra layer of information. I'm not being precise about it at all. I am, however, probably going to blend. right here at the edge between the two mountains. So I put down a little bit of white so it's wet there, and now I'm picking up a little bit of my medium blue, my medium light blue. Just put down a little bit of that. Now I'm going to do essentially what we did in the sky and just blend the two together. This is going to blend my edges. And I think I need to add a little bit more white. There we go. Now, I will tell you guys, if you've been following my stream, I've been doing a lot of snow and winter, and I'm trying to be seasonal and themed. So I think, I'm trying to think, I think I only have a couple more winter throughout February. I'm going to change it up about mid-February. I do a Valentine's Day on the 14th. I'm going to actually stream early on the 14th. I'll stream at 2 p.m. rather than my normal 6 p.m. time. For those of you lovers out there that want to go out. And it won't be me, but you know, I'll probably be watching my other friends stream who don't have anyone to go out with on Valentine's Day. I'm just putting some lines of white in here. But I'm going to be doing a Valentine's Day themed watercolor on Valentine's Day. And I will be doing, earlier in the week, I'm going to do anime drawing. So I'm going to teach you guys how to make basic anime characters. So I thought I'd change it up mid-month just to get some non-winter stuff going on. Okay, so I'm done pretty much with the mountains in the background. I now want to work a little bit on the front. Now, as I said earlier, had I thought about this a little bit more, I probably would have started out with a warmer color. So now I've got to go make my warmer color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to really warm it up. And for those of you, if you came in a little bit late, if you notice, my sky color is warmer than my mountain color. And that's intentional because we're trying to do what's called atmospheric perspective, which means that the background colors are going to seem more muted. All right, so I'm just coming in and I'm just going to do some pure blue. And I don't need to make much of this. We're not making a ton. So maybe a pea-sized amount. Then I'm going to do some white. And then I did probably a little bit bigger than a pea-sized amount. I'm going to put some yellow in. Now, I don't want the yellow to take over. So like I did with the red, I'm going to put the yellow in its own well, and I'm going to mix it in gradually. All right, so let's go ahead and grab just a tiny bit of yellow. I mean, I am barely touching it. What we're going to do, that's going to green up that blue just a little bit. Remember, I was talking to you when I showed you the color wheel, and we've got our cool blue is more towards the purple, and our warm blue is more towards the green. So by adding just a tiny bit of yellow, that's just going to really, really warm that up. And you'll see just the colors next to each other, how effective that is. What we're going for is what's called a cerulean blue. Cerulean. Very, very tropical. So look at the difference between this blue and this blue. So even though we mix blue and white here and blue and white here, just that touch of yellow with this having a touch of red really makes a huge difference in how it looks. So let's wipe off our palette knife and let's go ahead and paint our foreground, our mountains in the front with this new blue. So I'm going to wet my brush, grab a little bit from the side, and then I'm just going to come right in the front and paint. I'm going to let some of that blue that we painted before be in the background. I haven't decided whether, I think I want to leave a little bit of it. I might paint this over on the right side because, again, remember our light source is coming from the right, and then just leave a little bit of the dark side. The left side, I'll leave a little bit of that same color. So remember we had 4 little mountains. Hills, I guess they would be. Just want to let everybody know I really appreciate you coming out today and watching. We had a little bit of technical difficulty at the beginning. The technical difficulty is that I had accidentally turned off my mic. So it wasn't really technical, it was user error. Sometimes referred to as a picnic error. For those of you who know that, that's a fun term. So if you do not know what a picnic error is, look it up. I don't want to give it away here. So I used to do tech support a long time ago, and that, and then another fun error that we call ID10T. We use that sometimes to refer to when the issue was not in the computer, but it was a user error. So that's our little way of relieving stress when you have, it's usually the same user over and over again who calls, and it's usually the problem that you've helped them with the last 10 times they've called. So let me tell you guys, if you've never done tech support, see if you can avoid it. It's very annoying. Okay. So I've got my warmer color layered in here. I am going to pull in a little bit of white. We're essentially redoing the front of the mountains. Let's see. I'll put a little white there, but not much. Because that's like our very back mountain. So this is just to give the illusion of it coming forward towards us. And some of this is going to be covered, so we won't even see it. So, all right. Philip, you're all emojis today. As long as they're not in a stream, but I don't have a bot to say shame on you. I was just watching a stream before I started, and the guy streaming was getting spammed with emojis. Kind of funny and annoying at the same time. Okay. So, I'm feeling pretty good about our mountains here. So we're going to stop dealing with mountains, and we're going to start painting our trees. Now, because I just went over these foreground mountains again, they should have been dry by now. I'm going to take just a short break, and I'm going to dry them off. I'm not going very far, so I'm not going to put you guys on a BRB. I'm going to let you guys do what you need to do. So I use a hair dryer. Well, actually, I use a shrink wrapper, but it's about the same heat, and that's right, a little break. It's about the same heat and like intensity of a hair dryer. So you could use a hair dryer on high or medium heat setting. I am going to use my little shrink wrapper that works very well. So I'm just backing up here. I'll be right back. I'm not even going to give you guys a BRB because I'm not very far. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just use my hair dryer because it's easier access. So this way you guys can see me. Look, I can like walk in the, because I've got my hair dryer plugged in. So all I'm doing is just drying until, you probably can't hear me. So I don't know if you could hear me or not, but even if you couldn't, I'm going to repeat it, or even if you could. What I do is when I'm drying, I generally watch the paint and it will go from shiny to matte, which means not shiny. So it'll go from a shiny to a matte finish, and that's how you know it's dry. It's actually very satisfying to watch it dry. So, you know, if your friends ask you what you're doing, saying, I'm watching paint dry and enjoying it. So now we're going to draw our trees. We just want it to be at least tacky, like so where we can at least put our fingers on it without the paint coming off. All right, so now we are going to mix. We're going to use our round brush. We're going to mix our blue and yellow to make green. Now we want a dark green, so we're not going to mix very much yellow in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come next to where my yellow well is and put my blue. And I'm going to pick up just a little bit of yellow from the well it's already in. Yep, that wasn't much of a break, unfortunately. I will be doing a short break here after we get our trees put down. I'll be doing a short break. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, so I put this into the blue. I need to be picking up yellow to do a little stretch. Stretch. Okay, so I'm picking up just a tiny bit of yellow. Maybe I don't even know how much that would be. It's a little less than a pea size amount. And we may need more than that. We'll see. Actually, I think that was a perfect amount. What we're going for is a very dark kind of forest green. And it's okay if it's still a little blue, because we're going to be layering over on top of it with a lighter green. So this is a good color. So as you can see, it's still very blue in a lot of ways. But it's green enough. I just need it to be enough to where it looks green. All right. So we'll wet our round brush. We're going to paint some kind of stick figures basically in the front here. These are our foreground trees. So I'm picking up just a little bit of this color. I'm going to place a line here. I'm going to do a smaller guy here. It's helpful if you look at the reference photos, so feel free to run over to Discord if you haven't already. There's my Discord there in the bottom left, and I've got the reference photo posted. Okay. I'm making some trees taller than others. I'm spacing them a little bit. You know, some are closer than others. Let's see. I might do a little guy right here. I'm trying to look at the reference photo and see another little guy. And if you notice, I'm kind of pulling my brush when I bring it out along the edge, and that just gets all of the excess off so that I can do very thin lines and it doesn't plop a lot of paint down onto the canvas. I feel like what we're painting today is like a Canadian wilderness. So maybe Philip can give us some insight if he's ever been to the Canadian wilderness. Let's see. I might need to pick up a little bit more water. Let's see, I lost my place. Where am I? Here we go. Might need to pick up a little bit more water because it's starting to dry brush, which means that it's not putting a smooth fluid line down. Okay. There's only a couple of like really beautiful wildernesses that I'm aware of like this that would be this snowy, and I can imagine Canada would be one of those places. I used to watch this guy. He was the Survivor Man. I don't know if anybody's ever watched Survivor Man. It's a really great show. Les Stroud. And he used to go and they drop him off somewhere in the wilderness with, I don't think he ever fully knew what he was going to get in his backpack, you know. Yeah, he was awesome. He was a true Survivor Man because there was another show, Bear Grylls, I forget what that one was called, but it was a survival show, but he had a whole camera crew. Les Stroud got a couple of cameras and a backpack full of stuff that he didn't even know what it was, and then dropped off in the middle of nowhere with just like a meetup time and place. And that was it. He didn't even always have some kind of, he didn't even, I don't think even a lot of the times he had tools like compasses or anything like that. So he kind of had to go, that was the whole point of the show, is he was teaching you how to be a survivor. Okay, I'm not going all the way over. I'm going to stop right here. Let's see. I'm going to do two more. Hold on. So I'm not going to stop right there. I'm going to do two more. There. Ha! But yes, that was an excellent show. And I do remember one time he got dropped off in Canada in the middle of the winter. And I think he found some railroad tracks. But of course, you do not want to follow railroad tracks because Canada, the railroad tracks can literally go from one side of the country to the other and never go through a town. So that is entirely possible. So you don't want to follow the tracks because you could be going for a while. So and he made a point of that in that show. I remember that that episode very clearly. So I think that one he almost didn't make it out too. I think he was really having a hard time where he almost froze, like hypothermia and stuff because and I'm not going to give it away. You should definitely try to find the show, but he did some very interesting things to keep himself warm. We'll just say that. But it was great. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I've got my base trees in the front. Notice that I made the ones over here much smaller, and that's because they're going to be a little bit farther back, and I should have mentioned that when we were making them, but these are going to be a little farther back, so I made them smaller and a little closer together. So that's going to give us that perspective that they're farther away. All right, so now we are going to add okay, I'm going to get my paintbrush wet. We're going to add our branches. I know. I feel very discombobulated today. So I'm doing a big project at school, and I was just informed we had to apply for the jobs. These are like real projects for teams. Okay, what I'm doing, just so you know, I'm just kind of going back and forth, like almost like very broad X's, and getting a little bit wider as we get down to the bottom. Not much whiter, but a little bit. So anyway, on this team, I had applied to be a graphic designer. We're going to be creating a website. And because I have a background in graphic design, more than 20 years. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Well, it turns out I got the project that I applied for, but I did not get graphic designer. They made me lead developer. So, yay! I get to program a website, which I've never done before. So, that'll be fun. So, on top of that, I'm going to start a course that I'm learning C, programming language, today. The first part of the course is supposed to start today. So, I'm starting that. And I asked my teacher, I know, it's like this is going to be one crazy semester. Plus, I'm now streaming twice a week. So, yeah, I'm going to be a busy lady. And I'm a personal trainer and I need to re-up my certification. Happens to be due in April, so I've got that to do too. So this might happen frequently from now on in my streams. I'm going to be like, No, I will not be like that. Usually I am a little bit better prepared. Today was just surprise. And also, not to mention, yes, very busy year. Hopefully I tried to design it so that the end of the year I have less classes. Because hopefully I will be working by then in my field. So, which may very well involve web dev. So it's probably good that I'm learning that now, right? Or at least I'll have a background in it. So still just doing my little X's. You'll notice, I'm going to hold this a little closer. You'll notice this is very blue. Like I told you that it was kind of a teal color. This is okay because we're going to be going on top of it with a more green color. So it's totally okay that this is more blue. But if you mixed a little bit more yellow in yours and yours is a little more green, that's okay too. But yeah, I asked my professor today, I said, okay, well, I don't know anything about web dev. I said, is this something we're going to be learning in class? Or, when the client says what they want, I'm just going to have to Google it. And he told me I would be Googling it. I'm like, why am I in the class then? Like, I feel like if I have to Google it, what's the point of me paying for a college course? I guess I'm getting credit for the course, right? I'm like, well, I know. It's tough, man. It's tough. But you know what? Luckily, I'm friends with people who program for a living. So maybe one of them will be friendly and help me when I need it. I might have to I will try not to abuse that though. I promise. I'm promising right now that I will not abuse any friendships I have with people who program. Okay. And anyway, honestly, I probably would have learned more from Googling, even if he said, yeah, I'm going to teach you in the class. I've found that whenever I've had to program in the past, it really is easier just to find a forum somewhere where somebody's done what it is you need to do and you can tweak it rather than learning it from scratch. I mean, I like writing from scratch. And so there have been times that I've coded from scratch, but it depends. If you just need to do something quick and you've got a specific process, sometimes it's just easier to follow somebody else's lead. So we'll see. Okay. You know what? This first tree, all the rest of my trees have this very nice, downward slope. This first tree doesn't. So I'm just going to take care of that right now. Tree, you're not going to get left out. You're going to look just like your other buddies here. We only have conforming trees in our forest. Okay, there. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to lighten up this color that we made. So even more yellow. So let's just pick up a good amount of yellow and go ahead and mix it in. In fact, I don't even think that was enough. No tree outcast. That's right. Normally, I wouldn't be a proponent of everybody looking the same. You know, I say do your own thing, right? But in this particular forest, it would look really weird and not natural if one tree just stood out and looked different. No tree outcast. I like that. Tree equality. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're here for today, not painting. We're here for tree justice. Okay. Oh, if only were we here for tree justice. So now I'm going to, I've mixed this, so now I have a lighter green. And I'm going to come in, get some color, and we're going to basically do the exact same thing, maybe a little more sparsely, but I'm going to skip this first tree since I just painted it, and I'm going to move on to my second tree. Okay, and I'm doing the same thing. Now I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit of yellow and just gradually kind of go down. There. Look at that. All right. So pick up some more of my lighter green that I just did. Go down. Now again, you see that you're like, why are we painting over what we just did? But you can still see some of it. Pick up a little yellow. That might be too much. Okay. Too much yellow. No tree outcast. So what I'm doing is I just wiped off my brush. I just rinsed it off and I'm just blending it. Okay. Maybe we'll stop with the yellow for a little bit. We'll just do green. Don't get too excited with the yellow. Maybe this particular stream I will not be including in my portfolio. So in my grad program, the way it works is instead of doing a thesis, like a lot of master's degrees, you write a thesis. That's right, Philip. Thank you. So he said a glint of sunshine, and that's true. We do have a little bit of sunshine on those trees. And our light source is coming from the right, so that's possible. Thanks. I like that sunny disposition there. Very positive. So anyway, in my master's program, we have a portfolio because it's technology based. So I'll have a digital portfolio. Teacher Marga, are you saying mine's too green or yours is? You're saying mine is, like this one here? Maybe? We'll just feather some of that out. Haha. Ah, I see. So yeah, some of my streams I may include in my portfolio, my digital portfolio, saying, hey, look, see, I can teach. I can design instruction and teach. But this might not be the one that gets included. There's a really good chance that this is not the one. Sorry, Canadian Wilderness. You're not going to be featured in my portfolio. Although I could just tell them, hey, go to YouTube and check out all of the videos. And just cross my fingers that they don't stumble across this gem. It's okay. I know you guys forgive me for being kind of spacey today. Okay, We must not forget about our last tree. That would be hilarious if we did all of this and then just left this tree completely dark with no lighter leaves. Okay, so for Teacher Margot, if you've got a little bit too green, you can always add in blue. You can always add a little bit more blue in and make it more blue. This poor tree on the end here. Luckily, we're going to be putting white for snow on our tree. Okay. Now, so we need this to dry. I just dropped a little bit of water on my canvas. So we need that to dry. But let's see if we have a little bit of our nope, you know what? Okay. Formulating a plan as we go. Apparently, this wasn't pre-planned, I guess. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of white in here. I'm going to actually put white. I'll just put it in there. Okay, so I'm putting it in my original well, but I put enough of it where it's not going to touch the blue. I'm going to make sure that most of my brush is pretty dry. Okay. So I'm going to come in front of these trees and I'm going to paint a line that comes up. But like basically I'm making a snowbank here. We're going to be coming in with other colors later, so it's not going to just be pure white. But this is going to even out the bottom of the trees. And it covers up anywhere where it wasn't even. And I just realized something. I promised you guys that after we finished our trees that we would have a break. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just finishing up that snowbank. And then I'm going to rinse my brush. And then that will allow our trees to dry. We'll take a little break. Just a few minutes. So let's see. What stretches do I want to do today? I did not plan it. Like anything else in this stream. Not planned. So we'll just do a little bit of seated cat-cow. It's my favorite. So, okay, I have a pillow behind me, so I'm going to move the pillow. All right, so if you guys remember, I don't know if you can see me. I'm making sure you can see me. Okay. So if you guys remember, see my beautiful reflection here? Seated cat-cow, you put your hands on your knees and you are going to arch your back. That's going to be your cow. So you arch your back forward and tilt your head up. And then and that's when you breathe in. When you breathe out, you're going to round your back and push your hands forward. So your elbows are going to be facing out when you're in cow position. And then when you're in cat, your elbows go in. Okay, so breathe in, go to cow, breathe out, go to cat. Ready? Here we go. So breathe in and breathe out. Try to breathe through your nostrils for both times. We'll do this 2 more times. 1. And last time. And then for funsies, we're going to do just a little sun salutation. So all that is you raise your hands up, look up towards your hands, and then when you breathe out, you bring your hands to your chest. Okay, so we'll do 2 more of those. So up, breathe out. 1 more time. And out. Yay, guys. So that is the beginning of a lot of my yoga that I do at night. I like to do what's called restorative yoga. And that is something that I do. I do seated cat and cow, and I do sun salutations, and that's how I started. Our trees should be somewhat dry, enough where we can continue putting our snowbanks in. And thank you everyone for being patient if you did not join me with the yoga or doing the yoga with me. That's always appreciated, and your body will appreciate it if you do it. Yoga is a very good exercise, very holistic, because it mixes movement with breathing and mindfulness. So, okay. Snowbank. Ta-da! We move on to the snowbank. All right, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to just finish painting in my snowy area. Okay, now I've got a little area here that's going to be like a stream of some kind. So I'm not going to paint that yet. I'm going to paint the bank on the other side. So I'm just doing kind of like a little hilly formation. Mostly I'm just following the reference photo. Image, rather, it's not a photo. Okay. Let's see. I'm not being particularly careful about how I put the paint down. I maybe need a little tiny bit more water. Ooh, look at that, blue water. We'll just dab at that. Okay. Now I have, like in the picture, I see that there's kind of a little hilly area behind there. So I'm just going to get some white in there to start that hilly area. Okay. All right. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Now I want to, let's see. I kind of need a dark blue. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use pure phthalo blue. I'm going to put it in this dark well because for me anyway, it's dry. It's not going to pull up any of that darker color. I'm going to just take this on my brush, and we're going to make little marks on our mountains in the background, like little horizontal marks. These are our trees in the background that you can't tell. And the reason they're blue is, like I said, with atmospheric effect, things look bluer the farther they are away. You can kind of dot if you want to. That gives it even more. That's called stippling, which we actually did a little bit of in our drawing on Tuesday. So, Teacher Margot, did you get the green taken care of? You got it fixed? Also, it's very exciting to know that someone is actually working along with me. I think for a while, people have just been kind of watching, which is not a problem, but I, of course, want people to join me. So thank you. So I'm just kind of dotting everything. And I'm mostly doing the left side. Why? Because the right side, we're going to be doing our lighter blue. Okay, let's see. Oh, thank you. Oh, and I'm glad you fixed it. Excellent. So this one I'm kind of coming over the side of the hill a little bit. But as you can see, it kind of gives the appearance of little trees in the background. Nothing too fancy. Okay. So we got a little bit of a late start today because of the whole microphone issue, which I did not realize until a decent ways into the stream. So hopefully I can get everything in and within the 2-hour period. I don't want to go too far over. Don't forget to come down behind your trees, like in between, and do some dark down in there because you want it to look like you've got trees all going on behind there. I'm learning a lot about how I want to do this next time, because I think I would put these in first. Lots of lessons for everyone. All right, so I'm just going to touch in some little lines here in the background. Maybe come down in between my trees a little bit. We don't need to do too much over here because we're going to actually have a tree that comes down. Let's see. I'm going to water down a little bit and just come in here and do some very light dots. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And maybe it wasn't helpful that I just dropped water on my canvas. See if I can correct that. Well, that'll be covered, I think, with branches later. All right. I would like to come in, because I never really fully finished with the yellow and the green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow. I'm going to actually pick up some of my green and mix it in. I'm just picking it up with my brush. Just mixing it in with that yellow. So this way I won't be putting pure yellow down, but it will still look like a glint of sunshine. Okay, so we're going to come in and just on all the trees, just little dots. We're not filling anything in. This is going to be especially on the right side because that is where our light source is. So little dots, I'm not even filling out the whole tree. I'm not even going all the way down. Because if you think about it, at our base, it's going to be darker. There's going to be more shadow down there. Okay. All right, these guys might go farther down because they're in the background, so maybe they're getting a little bit more sun. All right. Now we are going to put our snow on the trees. So I washed my brush off really well, and now I'm going to pick up some white and just in different places put a little bit of snow. And our snow is going to be more linear. It's going to be more like horizontal lines because it would catch it in different places. You can do some dots here and there if you want. Okay. So I guess I'm being a little bit quiet right now. Again, for those of you who are my friends, you're probably appreciating this moment. Like, wow, if I were there in person, I could get a word in edgewise. I like to make fun of myself because, you know, it doesn't hurt as much when I do it. Just kidding. It always hurts. I make fun of myself just because I'm trying to, you know, if you can laugh at yourself, there's a good chance that you won't have to take everything so seriously. Maybe. That's what I think anyway. All right. We are moving along. Just getting the snow on our trees. You know, I always think about this when I'm doing these classes. I think about Bob Ross because, you know, he taught so many of these. And he, I think, was pretty much talking the entire time. I don't think he was quiet very often. And, of course, he had that great voice and super mellow. You know, I don't have that, but I try to keep talking the whole time. But I thought about that. I thought, man, I mean, he's done so many episodes. Like, I wonder if his voice ever went out. Probably not. I don't know. Okay. Maybe. He streams too. I've thought about hosting him. But I haven't decided on that yet. Let's see. All right. Something that's bothering me is I would like there to be, I want it to be a little lighter on this part of the mountain. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of white. And then I'm going to water my brush down. And just come in and kind of spread that around. The reason I'm doing this is because, I don't know, there was something about it. It just looked too dark to me. Because I don't think it would be quite that stark of a contrast. So all I did is just put a little bit of white paint on there, dry brushed it on, and then I just watered it down. Yeah, that's better. That was bothering me a lot. Okay. So we've got our snow on our trees. Now, what we're going to do, let's see. So we're going to use our cerulean blue that we made, that nice warm light blue. I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet. Get some of that. And we're going to make some shadows in the snow so that it looks, so this is going to be like a little, kind of a snowbank. I might lighten these with some white here in a little bit. Let's see. Remember, we have that stream here that I was going to paint in. All right. Let's see. So these are like our shadows in our little snowbank. All right, now those are a little bit too bright for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of white. I'm just gonna come in here and just tone them down. So I'm picking up some white and I'm coming right over the spot that I just went over, that I just did. And it should blend because it should still be wet. If it's not, then you just have to pick up some more of that color. It should still be wet. So get a little bit of water on my brush, pick up some white, and just come in. Oops, that was a little bit too much. There we go. And see how that just tones that down a little bit? If you pick up too much color on your brush, you can just wipe it off. That's what I do. Okay. I'm going to pick up some pure white and come back on the light side. And I'll just let some of that color, I'll just pull a little bit of it into it. So what I'm doing is that I put the white down first and then I just lightly touch the edges where that color was. I'm going to blend this with some white into like the side of that little hill that we did. So like it's all a shadow. But it's going to be a lighter shadow. I might take some pure white and come across the top where the light would hit it. Okay. That way it looks like it's facing us. Okay. Now I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit of a darker blue. I'm going to actually use this cooler medium blue that we came up with earlier. And I'm going to come in here for the stream. And I'm just very lightly coming in and adding in a little bit of a little bit of the color there. We're almost done with our foreground, guys, so we won't be doing, all we'll do is a couple trees in the front, and then we're done. I mean, like done with the painting, done. Yep, I like that. You know, I thought about, I'm picking up just a little bit of my cerulean blue, maybe with a little white since I had blended that with white earlier. I thought about maybe doing some kind of drawing or something like that. I don't know what. Bless you. My nephew is here in my room with me while I'm doing my stream. He's gaming while I do this. I thought about doing like some kind of drawing, and you guys can tell me if this is a good idea or not, where my paintings, I send one of my paintings to one of you guys just for fun, just for you to have. I thought about doing something like that to maybe encourage people to watch the whole stream and to join Discord, because I really want to get more people sharing their photos on Discord. And so I thought about doing something like that to encourage. I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think about that, because maybe that's not incentive. Like maybe nobody really wants my paintings. Maybe nobody wants it. They're like, keep it. I've got my own, you know. But if that sounds like even like a kind of a cool idea, let me know. Okay, I'm going to come in with a little bit of this cerulean blue on this mountain, because in the picture, that's what it shows. I'm following the image. And I'm not sure why they have it. Maybe it's to blend it with the foreground. And then this should be the end of painting our background. I said foreground earlier. I meant background. And we'd be focusing on the foreground. So anyway, does anybody have any thoughts on that idea of me sending my paintings to people, like as encouragement to join, like kind of a random drawing or whatever? I don't know. It was just something an idea I was toying with. I'm trying to come up with ideas for how to encourage people to participate. All right. So now we get to do our trees. All right. So first, we're going to go ahead and use our burnt umber. So I'm just going to put straight burnt umber, and I might mix a little bit of red in with that. Not much, just a tiny bit. I barely even touched my palette knife to it, just to like warm it up just a little bit. So I'm mixing that. Okay. So using your round brush, get it wet, pick up some color on the brush, and then we are going to do a large tree trunk. First we're going to draw like our guiding line. So it's going to go almost to the bottom of the, it's going to, starting probably about an inch up. So there's like right about there. And it's going to come to about an inch. Let's see. Yeah, maybe about an inch in. So that was far from a perfect line. I just wanted to get it laid down there, and I can come and fill it out. So it's leaning into our picture. And that's by design. I've talked about this before, but it's more visually interesting if you've got things that are going off the page. It makes the viewer's mind wonder what's happening. They might not consciously wonder it, but their subconscious mind is wondering what's happening off the page. Okay. I just got a little bit of water on my brush so we can make this flow. Okay. We'll let that dry. From the other side, we're going to have a branch that comes down. It's going to start probably about 1.5 inches down. And it's just going to meander down right into our second mountain there. All right. Get a little bit more water on my brush. Pick up a little bit more of the brown paint. Okay. And that doesn't have to be particularly thick or anything like that because we're going to be putting leaves on it. So, if we still have some of our blue, I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit of red on my brush, and I'm just going to come in here and mix a little bit of the blue onto it. Not much, just enough to kind of make a mild purple there. And I'm going to come in and just do like little lines in the tree. And this just gives us a little bit of layering in the tree. And I'm going to actually do the same over. Pick up a little bit more red. Sorry. I didn't realize I was off screen there. Okay, pick up a little bit of red and mix it in with the blue, just a little bit. And then I'm going to come in. This just gives us a little bit of shadow, a little contrast. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. I'm going to take a little bit of my white and just mix it with my brown. Just enough so I get like a light brown. So you can see I just did it on the side there. And I'm going to come in and do similar, just light lines. This just gives it a little bit of texture. And I'm pretty dry brushing that on there. I'm not being smooth about it. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing over here, but this time I'm only going to do it on the top edge of the branch. Because that's where the light's hitting it. So for the one over here, we did it for texture. For the branch over here, we're using it as light. Okay. Now let's see. I might have, get a little bit of this brown. We'll go back to the regular color brown. And I might have like a little branch coming out here. I'm going to fork it. So you see I just did like little, I'll make that closer. Okay, and have a couple little branches just coming out here and there. Some may go up, some may come down. And this is just going to give me a place to put some leaves. All right. On this other side, I'll just have, let's see, a couple branches coming out here or there. I'm going to do a couple that are not attached. Like that. Because we're going to be covering this in with leaves there. We'll have some branches coming in from off the side of the page. Okay. So now green. If you have any of this darker green that we did earlier, not the darkest, but when we mixed it to make our second green color, then we'll go ahead and pick that up. If you don't, what that was basically blue and yellow, and it would probably be about an even mixture, maybe a little less yellow. And I'm just going to do little dots. They don't have to be particularly next to each other. They don't have to be connected. But I'm just coming in those places where we put the branches and just doing little dashes or little dots. Now you can come below that. They don't have to be attached. Don't forget to bring some in front of your tree. It would look odd if you only had them coming from the sides. I've done that before by accident and didn't even realize it until it was done. And the entire front of the tree was just bare. There were no leaves or anything on it. Okay. We're almost done, guys. Just get a few more leaves in here. We will put some snow here in a minute. All right, so for our little branch that we have coming out in the front, I'm not going to put too much on it. I want it to have a little bit it's a little bare, but I will have some below it. Okay. All right. Now the other side. Same thing. Just kind of dot and dapple here and there. Come down. So this is stippling, which we also did some of in our drawing class on Tuesday. Stippling is just dots. Okay. Now remember I did these branches out here. I'm going to put some leaves along those. Just have leaves coming out. I see some places where I probably could have added a few branches, but that's okay. That's okay. For the sake of time, we're just going to keep on moving. Keep on keeping on. We will be coming in here with a little bit with some of our blue. Now trees usually, as you get closer to wherever the trunk is, are a little bit more filled in. So this whole corner here is going to be, the leaves are going to be a lot closer together. Okay. Wet my brush a little bit. And maybe just drop a big dot on my sky there. So now I've got a dot in the sky. That's fun. Okay. So let's see, I've got some coming down out from the bottom. And all right, I just got a signal that it is 8 o'clock. So that's good because I'm almost done, which means that I'm not as far behind as I thought I was. I was thinking I was I wasn't sure of the time, and I forgot that I actually have an alarm set for 8 o'clock. That tells me the time. Thanks, alarm. Okay. All right, so we're going to add two things in here. One, we're going to add our darker color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick up some of that blue that we had earlier, and I'm just going to come and bring it over and mix it in with the green. Ooh, get a little bit more than that. And that gives us a darker color. And so all we're going to do is just here and there, just kind of touch in where the green where we just did. And it's still dots, but we're just touching here and there. We're not going everywhere. All that does is give us a little bit of shadow and gives a little texture and depth. Okay, see how fast that was? I didn't even take very long on that side. Okay, same thing on the left. So this is our first part, is coming in with our dark. The next part is going to be coming in with the snow. So of course that will be white. No mixing involved there, just white. Now, when you get closer to the part where it's more dense with the leaves, you're going to have a lot more of the dark because it's denser. There's more leaves there to cast shadows. Okay. It's looking pretty good. Last but certainly not least, we are going to add a little bit of snow. I'm going to make sure my brush is really clean for this. All right, so I'm going to get the white going. And I'm going to come in and just dot just the top of some of these branches because the snow would have probably fallen off. A lot of the areas. So just lightly adding a few dots in here and there, just indicating that there is snow. Now down here we don't have to put too much because it's on top of the white area, so it's just going to end up blending. So not much, but a little bit, you know, here and there. All right, let's see. So I'm just lightly dusting the tops of these. All right, was explaining in one of the last times we did like a snowy landscape that I didn't grow up around snow. So, you know, what it looks like, I pretty much know from pictures and like the handful of times I've seen it by visiting family up north. Where I am now, though, we don't get snow. Not in Florida. Now, when I lived in North Carolina, we do get snow there. Not often, and usually it's on like a few days a year. But we do get it. And of course, because it's the South, it quickly melts and then turns to ice, and then it becomes very dangerous to drive on. So I usually just don't leave my house for a while. We call it black ice because it blends very well with the road. You cannot tell. All right. So we're finishing up here. I'm looking to see if there's any places I missed. Maybe some out here. Maybe a little bit right here. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. So, I am going to call this done. It is not what I wanted it to look like. I'm going to go ahead and state that. I feel like my sky is probably a little bit too blue. There are some areas that need to be touched up with white. Apparently blue-white. Just coming in here and bringing in some... What I could do, first of all, I could get clean water. That would help what I'm doing now. But I'm coming in... snow probably has like a little bit of a hint of the sky in it anyway because it's going to reflect. But... All right. So looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and critique mine. And if you... Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you, not null, not void. I appreciate that. So, well, and you would probably know snow pretty well, I'm sure. I think, where are you? Missouri? Something like that? Somewhere in the Midwest. I know, I remember that. Well, okay, you have a fair point. Well, all right, so I'm going to critique, once this dries, I'm going to sign this down here. I'm going to critique my work, and then if you were following along with me, I would love for you to upload your picture to Discord. Again, I've got, let's see if I can point to it. Hold on, I can do this right there. Yeah, that's my Discord channel. So to join me, and we can critique together there. But let's see. All right, looking at this and looking at the reference drawing, I'm going to try not to be negative. My first thing I'm going to say is positive. That is that I actually feel like my snowbanks are a lot more effective than they were in the last painting. I have it around here somewhere, but the last painting I did, and maybe if Philip is still on, he can attest to this because he was the one who told me that my snowbanks needed a little bit of work. I think these look better. I think these look a little bit more effective as like shadowy areas. That said, let me talk about the things I could work on. So I don't want to be too harsh on it. I'm not going to say it's terrible or anything like that because that's not effective criticism. What would be constructive would be to say I could make my sky lighter because I feel like a wintry sky is a little more gray and light. So instead of it being like this kind of misty blue, maybe just around, maybe even just in my horizon. Maybe my horizon could be a little bit lighter. So all that would be is when I was doing this again, just mix more white into it. I think my mountains for the most part are okay. If I had remembered to do the warmer color in the foreground hills first, I think those probably would have been a little bit more successful, but I think they're okay. Actually, it's all right. I take that back. I think like after looking away from it, looking at you guys, and then looking back at my painting, I think I like it better than when I was looking at it originally. So this is a good lesson to you guys. I always tell everyone to get up, walk away from your painting, and then come back to it, because a lot of times you've been looking at it so closely, you can see all the things that you meant to do along the way. But then when you come back, you realize, oh, it's not so bad after all. So, what did Miles say? Missouri, indeed. Well, do you guys get a lot of snow there? I guess I didn't think about like where Missouri is. I guess that's south of Iowa, right? Right? So, I really should know that geography better. All of my family is Iowa and Illinois, so you would think that would be it would be an area that I know better, but I would guess guys would get some snow, certainly. I mean, if North Carolina does. All right, so let's check on Discord and see if anybody uploaded pictures. It does not look like anyone did. I don't see any, so I'm going to go ahead and sign my work. Okay, good. So you do get snow every year. I figured Midwest, you know, it has its cold days for sure, no matter what part of the Midwest you live in. It gets... All right, so I'm going to sign my work. I always sign with a paint pen in my bottom right-hand corner. I chose silver because it kind of goes with the stuff in the painting. And, of course, it's not wanting to... The paint pens are the kind... oh, no, Iowa is pretty bad. In fact, my sister moved to Iowa in 9th grade, and... apparently it was like the coldest winter they ever had. There were days where it was negative 15. I don't know if that was the wind chill or that was the actual temperature, but it really doesn't matter because it still feels that cold. So yeah, it's pretty bad. I was pretty bad. Illinois is not that much better, but I don't know. Something about those cornfields, man. They just let all that cold in. So, okay. I'm going to call this done. And if anybody has any input on what I mentioned earlier, if you weren't here, what I was talking about is I'm trying to encourage more people to actually do the paintings or the drawings or whatever along with me. I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible by doing things like with my drawings, like saying just use a number 2 pencil, that kind of stuff. I want to encourage people to do it with me. So I thought about maybe doing like a random drawing for people that upload their artwork, even if it's not related to what we're doing, but just uploading artwork to the Discord channel, that maybe I do like a random drawing once a month or something like that, and send one of my paintings or drawings. Maybe they will get a choice, whoever gets drawn, to them as a prize. And they can have their very own Saragoski. I can't call it an original because I'm using reference drawings, but at least I did the work. So if you think that's a good idea, please let me know, because I'm trying to figure out some way to encourage people to actually do the work along with me, or at the very least share their own artwork. So we shall see. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining me today. This has been a little bit of a rough stream today, but you know what? We made it through, and we made it through together. So thank you very much, and I will see you next Tuesday.